J.D. Vance's journey from an outsider to a key player in the Republican Party is a striking political transformation. As the author of Hillbilly Elegy, Vance captured national attention by offering a raw, introspective look at the struggles of America's working-class communities.
You got to decide, you want to be somebody or not.
In 2016, he openly positioned himself as a never-Trumper, expressing disdain for Donald Trump's politics and character.
I'm a never-Trump guy. I never liked him.
I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place.
However, Vance's evolution took a dramatic turn.
But the senator says Trump's performance in office proved him wrong.
I was wrong, and so many were wrong about Donald Trump.
Yeah, he said some bad things about me, but that was before he knew me, and then he fell in love.
He became one of the former president's most outspoken defenders and a close friend of his son, Don Jr.
What are you hoping that he brings to this ticket?
The same energy he's brought Republicans in the United States Senate.
By 2022, he secured a U.S. Senate seat from Ohio at just 38 years old, propelled by a shift in his political stance, notably embracing Trumpism and receiving Trump's endorsement.
At 39 years old, Vance would be one of the youngest vice presidents in American history.
Now, in a remarkable twist of fate, Vance finds himself as Trump's running mate for the 2024 election. Undoubtedly a position that seemed impossible during his early years of political commentary.
And I remember when I was being raised by my grandmother, when she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights because Ohio gets pretty cold at night and because money was often very tight. And I believe, as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford a nice meal for your family. That's gotten harder. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to buy a house. You ought to be able to live in safe neighborhoods. I just want to say, I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
The hills of Appalachia, where beauty and hardship collide, were the birthplace of one of the most influential voices in America's modern political landscape, J.D. Vance. Raised amidst poverty, addiction, and family chaos, Vance's journey from the Rust Belt to Yale Law School would become a story that spoke to the heart of a divided nation. But J.D. Vance's rise was more than just a personal triumph. It was the embodiment of a changing political era.
Given where he came from, J.D. Vance should have been a grim statistic. His parents grew up poor in rural Kentucky. His own tough childhood was in the Rust Belt ruins of Ohio. But Vance escaped what he calls his cultural inheritance.
James David Vance was born in Middletown, Ohio in 1984, a town that, like much of the Rust Belt, had been hollowed out by the decline of American manufacturing. His family, like many others, faced the struggles of working-class life, financial instability, addiction, and a cycle of generational poverty.
Daddy, don't look at that. Come on, come on. Don't you look at you look at me. You look at me. You let her.
His mother battled substance abuse, and his father left when Vance was young, leaving him to be raised primarily by his grandparents.
You're getting away with this every time.
I told you that I would do better.
You always say that. You're lying.
I always try.
You got to think about these kids.
What do you think I've been thinking about since I was 18 years old, huh?
And then she just sped up, and she kept on saying, I'm just going to crash this car and kill us both. I'm going to crash this car and kill us both.
I could crash. Mom, I could crash this car and I could kill us.
Stop.
Then you would know how lucky you are.
Stop the car, please.
J.D. jumped out of the car. Someone called the police, and his mother was arrested.
And when you watched them take her, do you remember how that felt?
In that moment, I just felt relieved. And I thought to myself, all right, I'm going to live another day. That's how terrified I was. I mean, I just wanted that situation to end. And then I just broke down, right? I remember I was just really sad and felt very lonely because I'm sitting in the back of this police cruiser. They've just arrested my mom. The relief of having survived another day was gone. And then I just wanted, somebody to come and take me away. And that was actually Lindsay. That was who, sorry.
Why does that particular moment bring tears?
one, it's just such a crystal clear memory, and so it's hard almost not to feel the same way that I felt as a 12-year-old kid sitting in the back of that police cruiser. But I also think that that moment is kind of a microcosm of my entire life, is that there was this brief moment of terror and of feeling really lonely, and then there was Lindsay.
Lindsay Vance, J.D. Vance's sister, is a key figure in his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, representing the stability and resilience that helped anchor him during their turbulent upbringing in Appalachia.
I would die for that kid.
J.D. Vance and his sister Lindsay shared a deep bond, caring for each other profoundly, with Lindsay often stepping into a protective role, offering him support and stability during their chaotic childhood.
And I know he would too.
His sister Lindsay, 5 years older, was always a source of comfort and protection from their mother's abuse.
You got a right to your own life.
Don't make us your excuse, J.D.
Family's the only thing that means a goddamn. You learn.
So here we go! Tonight came just minutes after Trump announced his running mate, first-term Ohio Senator J.D. Vance.
And elect Donald Trump in 2024. God bless you, sir.
Sources tell us Trump broke the news to Vance just 20 minutes before he told the world. The senator and his wife, Usha, taking a lap today on the convention floor.
J.D. J.D.
At 39 years old, Vance would be one of the youngest vice presidents in American history.
J.D. Vance's father, Donald Bowman, played a relatively distant role in his son's upbringing. Vance was primarily raised by his mother, Bev Vance, and his grandparents, Mamaw and Papaw. Donald Bowman separated from Bev when J.D. was still a child, contributing to the instability Vance experienced in his early years. Vance's father allowed him to be adopted by his mother's third husband when Vance was 6 years old, effectively removing his biological father's name. This decision was framed in Vance's early life as his father not wanting him, which deeply affected Vance. Bowman later remarried, and Vance did not have consistent contact with him during his childhood. However, Vance and his father reconnected when J.D. was a teenager, with Bowman offering a more stable environment that contrasted with the tumultuous life Vance had previously known. Bowman became a positive influence during J.D.'s later years, offering him some emotional and spiritual guidance as he had become a devout Christian. Bowman's absence during J.D.'s formative years, alongside the struggles with his mother's addiction, became a key theme in Vance's memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. It highlights the generational trauma and cycles of dysfunction that shaped Vance's identity and his understanding of family dynamics.
Our movement is about single moms like mine, who struggled with money and addiction, but never gave up. And I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here, 10 years clean and sober. I love you, Mom.
Beverly Vance, born in 1961, epitomized the struggles faced by many in the white working class, a demographic often overlooked by mainstream narratives.
Do you actually want to be dead, Mom? Or are you just too lazy to try?
Oh, I tried! Plenty!
Her journey was marked by the tribulations of substance abuse, which not only endangered her own life, but also cast a long shadow over her family, including J.D. and his sister.
You've always got a reason. It's always someone else's fault. Some point, you're gonna have to take responsibility, or someone else is gonna have to step in.
Who? Huh? Who? You?
This period was not merely a sequence of unfortunate events, but a crucible that shaped J.D.'s worldview on resilience, responsibility, and the societal structures that either support or fail individuals like his mother. Bev had a tumultuous life, dealing with substance abuse issues that began when J.D. was young. Her struggles with drugs, primarily prescription painkillers and heroin, deeply affected Vance's upbringing, contributing to the chaotic and unstable home environment he experienced.
Oh, I thought your mama was gonna be all right. Be happy. I know I could have done better.
Despite being a nurse by profession, Bev's addiction often led her to lose jobs and spiral into cycles of destructive behavior, including failed relationships and run-ins with the law. Vance describes how her unpredictability and erratic behavior forced him to seek stability elsewhere, primarily through his grandparents, Mamaw and Papaw, who played a central role in raising him.
Hasta la vista, baby.
How many times have you seen this?
Oh, about 100.
And you know, Mom, I was thinking, it'll be 10 years officially in January of 2025, and if President Trump's okay with it, let's have the celebration in the White House.
J.D. Vance's grandparents, known as Mama, Bonnie Blanton Vance, and Papa, James Lee Vance, are central figures in his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, offering stability, love, and tough life lessons that shaped his worldview.
Did you ever think about calling 911?
No, I only thought about calling Mamaw.
Mamaw, Vance's grandmother, Bonnie Blanton, took J.D. to live with her after that harrowing car ride.
Dad, come on, come on. Don't you look at you look at me. You look at me.
Was there a greater influence on your life?
No, I mean, she really just got me. She understood when I needed somebody to ride me. She knew when I needed love and comfort. She knew when she needed to just be sympathetic. She was really smart.
Everyone in this world is one of three kinds. Good Terminator, a bad Terminator, and neutral.
You're a good Terminator.
Well, I wasn't always. I had to learn. You could too.
Mama is a fierce and no-nonsense figure in Vance's life. Born in Kentucky, she came from a family with strong Appalachian values and married Papa when they were both very young. Throughout the book, she is portrayed as a tough, resourceful woman with a sharp tongue and a deep sense of loyalty to her family.
Now stop stealing things, do your homework, and find some decent friends.
I don't want new friends.
Well, then you're not gonna have any.
You can't tell me who I can hang out with. You're not my mom.
I'm all you got.
Mamaw!
Mamaw preached personal responsibility and insisted on 3 gets: good grades, a good job, and get up and help me. And she came with some serious firepower.
Despite her often volatile temperament, she wasn't afraid to use profanity or resort to threats of violence to keep her family in line. Mama was Vance's greatest protector and advocate. Her home became a refuge for him, providing stability amid the chaos of his mother's addiction and dysfunctional relationships.
She was very good with a gun. You know, Mamaw, when she died, I think the number is 19 handguns loaded that we found in her house at various places.
Mamaw owned several guns and wasn't afraid to use them, whether to scare off threats or maintain order within her own household.
You're gonna come and stay with me, and if anybody has a problem with it, they can talk to my gun.
Vance recounts a story where Mamaw once threatened to shoot a neighbor who tried to enter her house without permission. She even kept a pistol by her side for much of her later life.
J.D. continued to live with Mamaw while Lindsay found her own escape. She got married and had 3 children of her own, and her focus turned to them.
One of the most famous anecdotes in Hillbilly Elegy involves Mama telling Papa she would blow his brains out if he came home drunk again. In another instance, when she caught her husband sneaking alcohol into the house, she doused him with gasoline and threatened to set him on fire. While shocking, these stories underscore Mama's intense personality and her willingness to resort to drastic measures to keep the peace in her family.
If I weren't crippled, I'd get out of this car right now and I'd walk around and I'd smack your head and your ass together.
Why do you even want me?
Who said I wanted you?
I really hate you, you know that?
I don't care you hate me. I ain't in it for popularity.
Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family and culture in crisis by J.D. Vance, is both a personal memoir and a broader social commentary on the struggles of white working-class Americans, particularly in the Appalachian region. Published in 2016, The book gained widespread attention for its raw depiction of the cultural and economic challenges faced by Vance's family and his community, which had been hit hard by deindustrialization, poverty, and the opioid crisis.
I'm talking about a chance. You might not make it, but you sure as hell won't if you don't try.
Why do you even care what I do?
I ain't gonna live forever. Who's gonna take care of this family when I'm gone?
Vance delves into the identity crisis experienced by many working-class white Americans, particularly those with Appalachian roots. He discusses the pride and sense of loyalty that come with being a hillbilly, but also addresses the self-destructive behaviors within the community, such as an unwillingness to seek help or acknowledge personal responsibility. Vance reflects on how his family's sense of pride, while deeply ingrained, often came with a reluctance to change or improve their circumstances.
I could have done better. But you got to decide. You want to be somebody or not?
The memoir shines a light on the devastating effects of poverty, unemployment, and the decline of manufacturing in places like Middletown, which once thrived with industrial jobs. Vance talks about the loss of stable work, which led to a sense of despair and hopelessness in his community.
For Lindsay, reading her brother's memoir brought back a life she had tried to forget.
I just laid in bed at night, pulling it apart and reading it, and I would just cry. I just felt so sorry for those kids and why I didn't see more of him. I don't know, I should have been able to do more.
This economic decline is tied to broader social problems, including drug addiction, family breakdowns, and a rising sense of isolation and defeat.
She has a lot of guilt over that.
She shouldn't. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that, and I just don't think that Lindsay should feel guilty at all about it. She had found her way out, and I was looking for my way out.
Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance became a bestseller shortly after its release in 2016, selling over 3 million copies by 2020. The book gained significant attention during the 2016 U.S. presidential election, as many readers saw it as a window into the struggles of white working-class Americans, a demographic central to the political conversation at the time.
Get inside. Get inside, quick. I got dogs. Stay by. I ain't open the door.
Hello? Mama, come get me. I'm at
11345 County Road.
11345.
You need to let me in. I ain't opening the door.
The success of the memoir was further amplified by its adaptation into a Netflix film directed by Ron Howard in 2020, which likely contributed to continued book sales. Its status as a cultural touchstone helped cement Hillbilly Elegy as a bestseller for several years.
Are you kidding me, J.D.? Get your ass out to the car. You called him, you bitch, huh? He barged into my house. This is a family matter.
Let the boy go, ma'am.
I didn't do anything. He's just being a brat.
Take your hands off of the boy.
Are you kidding me right now?
Step back.
At age 17, J.D. Vance began his first job as a cashier at Dillman Foods, a local grocery store in his hometown of Middletown, Ohio. After graduating from Middletown High School in 2003, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps, where he served as a military journalist with the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing. During his 4 years of service, Vance was deployed to Iraq in 2005 in a non-combat role, writing articles and taking photographs. Reflecting on his time in the military, Vance credits it with teaching him essential life skills and maturity. Noting that he was fortunate to avoid active combat, he attained the rank of corporal and earned several decorations, including the Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. After completing his military service, Vance used the GI Bill to attend Ohio State University from 2007 to 2009, graduating summa cum laude with a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and philosophy. His time at Ohio State laid the academic foundation for his later success, ultimately leading to his acceptance at Yale Law School and the development of his career in law, venture capital, and politics.
When did it even occur to you that you could get into a place like Yale Law?
I read this study about people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, that they internalize a certain inferiority, that they assume that because no one around them has done much, that they are just genetically incapable of doing it. And it completely changed the way that I thought about my own possibilities, right? I thought to myself, you know, I've been selling myself maybe a little short.
When Vance arrived at Yale Law School, he experienced intense culture shock. Coming from a working-class background, he was suddenly surrounded by peers from elite, wealthy families who had spent their lives navigating privileged circles. Vance often felt out of place and struggled with imposter syndrome, wondering if he truly belonged among such accomplished and polished individuals.
So when JD was here, he's pretty open about the fact that he stuck out a little bit.
He writes about how alien the social norms and expectations of Yale felt to him. From simple etiquette like dining at fancy restaurants to understanding the unspoken rules of networking and navigating the legal profession.
Amy Chua, author of the best-selling book Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, was one of his professors and became an important mentor.
Chua helped Vance feel more comfortable in the elite academic environment and encouraged him to believe in his abilities. She was instrumental in helping him secure a job at a prestigious law firm, guiding him through the application process, interviews, and negotiations. Her mentorship provided Vance with a support system that helped him bridge the gap between his background and the world of elite law.
You would think there's nothing in common between Chinese-American immigrant child and a guy from Appalachia, but I saw a lot of myself in him. You know, he was a little bit of an underdog, didn't quite fit in.
Vance's ability to escape the cycles of dysfunction in his family serves as the backbone of his story, illustrating both the hardships he overcame and the opportunities that allowed him to break free.
Is it true that you, of all people, actually told him, focus on your love life?
I did.
That's because she could see that Vance was deeply in love with a classmate, Usha Chilakuri.
I met JD in law school when he was fresh out of Ohio State, which he attended with the support of the GI Bill. We were friends first because, I mean, who wouldn't want to be friends with JD? He was then, as now, the most interesting person I knew. A working class guy who had overcome childhood traumas that I could barely fathom to end up at Yale Law School. A tough Marine who had served in Iraq, but whose idea of a good time was playing with puppies and watching the movie Babe.
J.D. Vance met his wife, Usha Chilakuri, while they were both attending Yale Law School. Usha, who is of Indian American descent, was a fellow law student and became an important part of Vance's personal and professional life.
He just had a really great attitude to everything. He was clearly so excited to be there in a way that, you know, a lot of people just, you get accustomed to places like Yale Law School when you've been to other universities like that before. And he, I don't know, he felt very different.
J.D. Vance graduated from Yale Law School in 2013. After completing his law degree, he embarked on a career that blended law, venture capitalism, and writing, eventually positioning him as a prominent public figure.
As far as JD had come, his past was always looming.
I was as close to a nervous breakdown as I've ever had. The stress of law school, mom had just had a heroin overdose. I was in love with this girl, Usha, but I didn't quite know how to be in love with her in the way that I wanted to be. And I just thought to myself, you finally got to this place that's going to guarantee that your life is going to go well, and you're struggling with all of the things that you thought you'd gotten away from.
J.D. Vance married Usha Chilakuri in 2014. Their partnership has been characterized by strong mutual support, with Usha playing a key role in helping Vance adapt to the world of elite academia and the challenges that followed. Together, the couple has built a family with 3 children. They currently live in Ohio, where Vance was elected as a U.S. Senator in 2022.
It's safe to say that neither JD nor I expected to find ourselves in this position. But it's hard to imagine a more powerful example of the American dream. A boy from Middletown, Ohio.
After being elected as a U.S. Senator for Ohio in 2022, J.D. Vance has focused on revitalizing the Rust Belt, tackling the opioid crisis, and advocating for working-class families. Known for his strong conservative values, Vance has emphasized immigration reform, trade policy, and rebuilding domestic manufacturing to create sustainable jobs. Leveraging his background in venture capital and his experiences from his Appalachian upbringing, Vance has quickly become a prominent voice in the Republican Party, advocating for economic renewal and social mobility while serving on key Senate committees and influencing national policy discussions.
Former President Trump has just sent out a message on Truth Social. He's announcing who his VP pick will be, and it's none too surprising that it is indeed J.D. Vance. This is what he says: after lengthy deliberation and thought, and considering the tremendous talents of many others, I've decided the person best suited to assume the position of Vice President is Senator J.D. Vance of the great state of Ohio.
Any comment, Donald Trump Jr., on your dad picking Senator Vance for his vice presidential pick?
I think it's an incredible pick. I think he's an incredible guy with an amazing story, both in business and in life, and I think it's just going to be an incredible person to help unify this country.
J.D. Vance endorsed Donald Trump in January 2023 for the 2024 Republican primaries and was later selected by Trump as his vice presidential running mate in July 2024. This decision was supported by influential figures like Elon Musk, David O. Sachs, Tucker Carlson, and Peter Thiel, highlighting a significant backing from Silicon Valley and conservative media.
You got a right to your own life. Don't make us your excuse, J.D.
Family's the only thing that means a goddamn. You'll learn that.
The story of J.D. Vance in the 2024 election cycle continues to unfold with each media appearance and campaign event, building up to the decisive November 5th. His approach, combining Trump's populist appeal with his own narrative of rising from humble beginnings, aims to energize the Republican base while presenting a clear contrast to Democratic policies. As the election approaches, all eyes remain on how Vance's strategy will influence voter turnout and the overall electoral outcome, particularly in key battleground states where his messaging on jobs, family, and security could play a pivotal role. With his compelling backstory and unwavering determination, there is still much more to see from J.D. Vance as he navigates this critical chapter in American politics. Hope you enjoyed this documentary. If you did, please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Your support means a lot, and it helps us continue to bring you more engaging content. See you in the next one.